Hey everyone, Gaijin Goomba here, the real Gaijin Goomba. There's a few things that I wanted to personally address before we got started. First of all, I wanted to say a big thanks to all of you who subscribe to me and all of you who've become fans of Game Exchange. You guys have no idea how important that is to me. I also want to give a big thanks to MatPat for putting me on his channel too. However, I also want to address that some of you didn't really like it, and the majority of the complaints was the voice. Well, your complaints were heard, and I tried to do a lot to fix it. I wanted to keep the character just the way it was, but make it a little less grating, a little bit more enjoyable, and I think I've done that. However, for this episode, it's more of a Frankenstein episode. I took two episodes, which were one half of a top 10, and smashed them together. So, if you weren't a big fan of the first voice, like if it just turned you off completely, you might want to skip to about the halfway point, because that's where I made that transition. If the voice didn't bother you, I'd say watch the whole thing. And even if the voice did bother you, I'd say watch the whole thing. I think you'd be really interested in the information I bring to the table. Anyway, that's all for me. Enjoy the show, guys.
Everyone, Gaijin Goomba here. For the next two episodes, I want to share something very special with you. I know that everyone and their mom does a top 10 countdown, but I don't believe there's a more appropriate way to discuss my experiences with video games that are Japan only than doing such. Some of these games you may know, some of these may be brand new to you. Either way, all of these games are worth a look if you ever have the opportunity. The console games on this list are for systems that lack any sort of region coding, so you can, in fact, play these games should you find them. As I was writing this script, I realized that it would take more than one episode to explain the greatness of these 10 games, so I'm going to span it over 2 episodes. Anywho, let's get this thing going. Number 10. Darius Burst. I love me some shmups, but it's become pretty obvious that the newer shmups in Japan are so full of bullets and missiles it's impossible to move. That's why Darius Burst, the arcade game, gets my number 10 spot. There's actually room! It's a great space shooter with lots of diverse power-ups, nostalgic control, and a super immersive environment, and some of the most ridiculous bosses you will ever see. It felt modern while having that classic old-school feel at the same time, like Gradius or R-Type on steroids. There are a few ports of the game on the PSP and I believe the iPad in Japan, but nothing can compare to the original. It just makes me remember the feel and the thrill of the old arcades of yore. Nostalgically satisfying yet cutting edge, Darius Burst is one shmup you don't want to pass up. Number 9. Chabadai Gaijin. Okay, I know you probably have no idea what this game is, so let me explain. In the last few months before I left Japan to come home, this little gem made its way to my local arcade in Abita department store. It's a very short game, and it still demands the usual 100 yen, or about $1.10. The premise is that you are in a particular scenario ranging from a funeral to a wedding to a family dinner. However, everyone is basically acting like a jerk and you're pretty sick of it. You slam your hands down on the table peripheral and flip it as hard as you can. You want to cause as much chaos and destruction with your epic table throwing as possible. You only get one throw, so you gotta make it worth it. I put this game on number 9, I admit, for very personal reasons. One of these scenarios you can choose from is a class full of annoying, gripey, whiny, annoying as crap kids in the classroom, and you have a teacher about to call you shut down. Now, I don't mind telling you this. This was the greatest thing ever after a long day of dealing with my stupid Sanensei third-year students. For real. I would sum up all of my rage from the day and wreck everything. was worth every penny. Rather expensive, but satisfying as all get out, Sho Chabudai Gaisi gets my number 9 spot easy. Number 8. Kanji Sono Mama Rakubiki Jiten. Boy, that's a mouthful, isn't it? Now this game isn't really a game per se. It's on the DS, so I suppose it counts. But this software is actually a very well put together, very easy to use Japanese to English or English to Japanese translator and dictionary. The thing was a godsend while I was in Japan. Understand something, this game cost me around $40. An electronic dictionary that had the same capabilities that a DS plus this game had was around $350. No, that is not a joke, I'm dead serious. This game let you write down your own kanji, type in kana or type in English, and it also wasn't much of a stickler when it came down to stroke order either. Incredibly solid for the price I paid. There aren't any English instructions to the game, but it's very easy to figure out. Basically, as you search for words, any word in Japanese that shows up with a green text will have a good English translation. Those in red are more like euphemisms that require knowledge of Japanese to understand the explanation. Really, that's okay. For what a foreigner needs to do in Japan, this game delivers. An absolute necessity for the Gaijin on the go, Kanji Sono Mama Rakubiki Jiten is totally worth having for anyone interested in Japanese. Number 7. Sengoku Basara Battle Heroes. Of all the Basara games, this was the one that introduced me to the series, and I really liked it. Basara is what happens if Dynasty Warrior, Japanese history, and anime had a baby. It's all the same hacky-slashy fun of Dynasty Warriors, but it takes itself a lot less serious. The historical figures that are in this game are obviously parodies of who they were in real life, and it just fits really well with the over-the-top gameplay. Each character has their own story, but it feels like the story follows Date Masamune and the people that are involved in his adventure the most. It isn't anything special, but the developers did go out of their way to make the stories at least decent. The gameplay is really good. It's tight, timely, and incredibly satisfying. Each match is a 2-on-2 fight, regardless if you're playing a single player or not. As frustrating as that might sound, the AI is quite good, and only makes the gameplay that much better. Basara's super moves are also incredibly satisfying too. A crazy blast into Japan's past, Sengoku Basara Battle Heroes makes a solid 7 on my list. Number 6. Sengoku Basara 3.
Foolish Goomba, it's from the same franchise. You can't do that.
Hey, you know what? My list, my rules. And Sengoku Basara 3 deserves the next spot for certain. In my opinion, this game takes everything that Battle Heroes had to offer and just made it so much better. Not perfect, mind, but the experience is just so much better. Utilizing the PS3's capabilities, the game looks beautiful, sounds beautiful, and plays beautiful. Seriously, I know a lot of people that were turned off by the button-mashing style gameplay. But just like the Big Papa God of War, as you progress, you get new combos to add to your already impressive list. As for me, I rather enjoyed playing as Psycho Magoichi and chain comboing Ashigaru with dual flintlocks and shotguns. Oh, and her super move? Yeah, it's basically Omni Slash with guns. Take it in. Again, like the original, you follow the path of the character you selected. This time, though, you are almost always alone, and you can customize your experience by picking and choosing your battles and your enemies as well. It's pretty swank, I must say. The menus are a bit difficult to navigate if you don't know any Japanese, but it's nothing too hard to get through, and the experience is well worth it. A suitable successor to the franchise, Sengoku Basara is an amazing game. Okay guys, I need a break, but I'll be back shortly with my top 5 next time. But for now, this is Gaijin Goomba signing out. Hey everyone, Gaijin... Ugh. Huh. Okay guys, I'm refreshed and ready to get back to my top 10 personal favorite unique games in Japan. 5. Rhythm Heaven. This should be no surprise to anyone, though perhaps you think I'm referring to the DS and or Wii games. Nope, neither. I'm talking about the good old-fashioned arcade machine Rhythm Heaven. Sure, half the time it was difficult to hear, but there was something magical about it. I think it has something to do with the massive buttons you press combined with the surround sound, and perhaps the fact the machine itself was pretty colorful made this a much better experience. Not to mention, the most fun had with this game is when you're playing with someone else. That's something that console ports don't really offer. The game is easy as cake to navigate too. This is probably one of the few games in the arcades of Japan that took zero Japanese comprehension to play. You would always get a brief tutorial at the beginning of the game, which was thankfully skippable, and it detailed exactly what you needed to do, which was little more than push 1 to 3 buttons with an audio cue. The music was also just damn good. There's no other way to describe it. Easy to play and crazy addicting, the arcade Rhythm Heaven gets my number 5 spot, hands down. Number 4. Jump Ultimate Stars. Like Shonen Jump? Like Smash Brothers? Well, go grab yourself another pair of pants, chap, because by the end of this, you'll need them. Jump Ultimate Stars was a sequel of a lesser-known game called Jump Superstars, in which you choose a team of characters from the Shonen Jump series, such as Dragon Ball, Bleach, One Piece, etc., and basically fight to the death against other teams. The gameplay is a lot like Smash Brothers, and that's a good thing. You have multiple platforms to fight on, 1 button plus direction regular and special moves, and very simple super moves that are unique for each character. Almost exactly the way Smash Brothers plays, only instead of chasing around a Smash Ball, it's just a simple item that you pick up. You can also charge your specials simply by hitting your opponent, which seems like a much easier thing to do. You can even break panel edges and ring out your opponents. You also have a large selection of items that can help or hinder you, so be careful with what you nab. The team selection is pretty unique too. You have a screen where you select a series, then a different iconic manga panel from that series, each of them having different sizes and uses. The smaller ones are more like assists where the character attacks and then leaves, or the larger ones are the actual playable fighters themselves. The block for special abilities on Kid Icarus Uprising is a lot like this. If you love Shonen Jump and you love Smash Brothers, this game is right up your alley. Number 3. Tank 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 tank. Yeah, number 3 is Tank Tank Tank. What do you get when you take battle tanks for the N64, give it sharp, cartoonish graphics, some huge monsters, oversized weapons, and explosions that would embarrass Michael Bay? Tank Tank Tank. This is the most mindless, destructive fun you can have with 100 yen. The game's premise is, well, there is no premise. There's a monster attacking Japan, and you have to kill it with your little green tank and some of the most exaggerated conventional weapons you've ever seen. The stage usually consists of first fighting a swarm of smaller baddies, and then after you kill a certain number of them within a time limit, you move on to the big boss of the level and attempt to blow him away. While that might be all there is to the game, it's so incredibly satisfying. The arcade version's chair jerks you around with every shot and every hit that you take. All the while, some overexcited guy yells stuff at you in Japanese. There's a versus mode, of course, but I honestly didn't care all that much about that. I wanted to get my hands dirty taking down some robotic monsters. And what's that? The game's coming out for the Wii U? Awesome visuals, sweet sound effects, and satisfying gameplay, this game is a must-have for those of you who have never experienced the greatness of Tank Tank Tank. Number 2. Taiko no Tatsujin. Out of all of the arcade games in Japan, this was my favorite. And no, not because I was in my little town's taiko group while I was in Japan. I love this game because there is just something fun and even powerful about playing an oversized taiko drum. Mix that in with about 100 trendy Japanese songs, and this game just becomes amazing. I understand that there was a port for the PS2 years back, but that thing is rancid compared to the original. The arcade version had music ranging from the original Mario Brothers theme to Doraemon, to Tank, the Cowboy Bebop theme.
I think it's time we blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
Yeah, it was that amazing. The game took zero Japanese comprehension to play. Pick your difficulty, pick your song, hit the drum in the middle for red, and hit the drum on the sides for blue. It truly is a game that's easy to play and difficult to master. But master it, people did, to the point of absolute ridiculousness. Seriously, you should have seen my kids play this game. You think people went nuts perfecting Dance Dance Revolution and making it into a dance art form? My kids would move their bachi so fast, all you saw was a vague yellow blur. So yeah, if you're in the neighborhood in Japan, do not pass up the chance to play this game. It's worth every yen you put into it. Number 1. Gundam vs. Gundam Next Plus. This game is perfection. Absolute perfection. Gundam vs. Gundam Next Plus on the PSP was the pinnacle of my Japanese gaming life for the 2 years I was over there. Take Basara, which I already established is a freaking great game, and combined it with the greatness of Gundam, and you have one of the best Japan-only games I've ever played. As I said, the game plays very similarly to Basara, only there aren't any pygmy dorks that you have to brush out of the way. It's just you, your partner, and your 2 opponents. The maps are phenomenal. You can literally see an environment from every single Gundam show ever. Not to mention, the roster is freaking huge! The first player missions also simulate key events in various Gundam series as well, and it's just so amazing. And don't you dare compare this game to the Dynasty Warriors Gundam. That game is a joke compared to the greatness of this game. The graphics are stellar, the control is tighter than an 8-cut bra on Pamela Anderson's tits, and the amount of sheer thought that went into the game as different characters from different Gundam universes interacted is absolutely genius! Seriously, I was playing as Heavy Arms, second only to the Agai in my little Goomba heart. And I was fighting alongside Char Aznavour from the original Gundam series, and I heard Troa mutter, is that Zex? I gleamed so hard at hearing this, my little otaku heart exploded. I eventually traded in my PSP to invest in other games and other systems, mostly because the PSP's game library was pathetic in my opinion, but in my heart I cried a little bit because I knew I would never play Next Plus until I got the money to get the system again. Looking back, I do in fact regret my actions, and when I get the money, I'm gonna get myself another PSP and relive that glory all over again. For now, all I have is Gundam Capsule Fighter Online, with its overly steep difficulty curve, mindless points grinding, and a leveling system that, on chance, powers you all the way back down to a starter level unless you spend points or money to protect yourself from that power down. Go to PlayAsia.com right now and buy this game. Buy it! The menu is the easiest thing to navigate. Press start, press circle again. Done! What are you waiting for? Okay, sorry about that, but it's my number 1 for crying out loud. Well, anyway, that's my top 10 Japan-only games that made my stay quite a bit better. Like I said before, the console games listed are for systems that are not region coded. So take my word for it. Play these games. You'll be glad you did. Alright everyone, I'll see you next time. This is Gaijin Goomba, signing out.